The GameCube, a console from my generation that has more appreciation now than when it came out, which is weird. It didn't have much of what you could call success in its time of release, but now, like every other dead console that didn't really kick off, they always have more appreciation many years after. Why would they though? Well, let me tell you, the GameCube has a surplus of memorable games that are still being played all the time. But with the new Nintendo Online service that launched this past September, which gets rid of the virtual console, and the rising costs of the original GameCube games, it's difficult to play those games we love now more than ever. Let's take a walk. Adding to the pile, our technology is evolving at a ridiculous pace, leaving our well-known composite output behind. Most modern TVs ditch component and composite in favor of HDMI. HDMI is the most common output in televisions in homes across the globe. There is the super expensive GameCube component cables, which, by the way, cost over $200. It has become one of the most sought-after accessories for collectors. The cable was only available for purchase in Nintendo's online store, which wasn't even advertised, and the cables were eventually discontinued by Nintendo due to what they claim was a lack of consumer interest. According to Nintendo themselves, less than 1% of GameCube owners actually use this feature. And adding insult to injury, Nintendo also removed the GameCube component port in later GameCube models. There's also the issue of having analog signals having input lag, which is difficult to deal with. This is due to TVs taking time to process and convert the analog signal to a digital signal, causing a delay. So, there seems to be no reliable and cheaper way to play on the old Cube. I mean, emulation is an option, but most people don't want to go through the process of downloading and understanding the program, and along with trying to run it smoothly on a PC that they may not even have. So, now you can understand the dilemma here. We are running out of options to play on our GameCube. But don't bury your purple lunchbox just yet, because I've got the potential solution. In this tiny box, this HDMI adapter by EON hopes to solve the major problem of the Nintendo GameCube. While at Classic Game Fest 2018 in Austin, Texas, we got our first look at the product and was able to speak to Justin Chow, co-founder of the EON, about the device, and we were intrigued as he was showcasing the product in tournaments that weekend. So, let's dig in, shall we? Now, I know some of you guys are out there asking, Nick, what about the GameCube plug and play? Isn't that the same thing? I mean, what about the Wii? Couldn't I just use that instead? Well, I actually covered that in a separate video, which you can check out here. But before I get into that, let's go into what the important differences between the two are. To start, the GameCube plug and play has had some problems from its version 1 to its version 3 iteration. The internet is still debating on whether this device actually fries people's purple lunchboxes, but this product has no known issues. I mean, look at its packaging with its sleek little box. It looks like a little GameCube, and it even has the iconic logo on top. So, while some competitors' adapters are made by one person and being 3D printed, the EON HDMI adapter is manufactured by a combination of 3 different companies and are available on Amazon Prime, while you would have to special order the competitors and wait an undisclosed amount of time. Metal Jesus Rocks. A YouTuber had his GameCube fried due to it being yanked and shorting out. There's been arguments about whether who's at fault here, but it's nice to know that it'll fit snug in the console. While the GameCube required both component and composite cables plugged in to get audio and that sweet 480p resolution, this adapter doesn't require any extra cable nonsense. This makes setup easier than ever. Now the important part, the games. How do they look in comparison? The results are rather interesting. The adapter itself runs games that support progressive scan at 480p. Most of the big titles support this resolution, and if you play a game that doesn't support progressive scan, you can see a few different resolutions including 480i and 448i. There's also a few special cases where it can look pretty bad. For example, in the Resident Evil 2002 remake, it would look super blurry when there is almost any movement on screen. It's almost as if Vaseline was splashed all over it. Composite doesn't seem to show this, however, that is likely due to the lack of details the peasant resolution shows. I should probably explain what the differences between component and composite are. Composite was the most common signal for gaming hardware in most TVs at the time. While component would transmit one line at a time down the display, composite would transmit every other line and alternate between the lines every frame to create the image. This is known as interlacing. This causes noticeable lines to be seen and can really give the image a washed out look. For games that really benefit, I was just in awe of how clear the games look on the EON. Super Mario Sunshine had new life given to it as all the details of the beach, the water, and the colors just popped, and it was just beautiful. It did the same thing for me in Kirby's Air Ride. Just look at it on composite, it was like a layer of fog or dust is on the screen. But when you use the EON adapter, the dust clears away. Oh, I almost forgot. The GameCube is capable of playing Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games by using the Game Boy Player adapter. Man, this thing has a lot of adapters. I played a few of these to show you just how it looks. Wario Land 3, Yoshi's Island, Capcom Classics Mini Mix, and Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Being blown up on a bigger screen, you'd think there'd be some artifacting, but all the pixels are solid and everything pops just like on the GameCube games. I had no issues with the Game Boy Player adapter, so yeah, it passed with flying colors. In conclusion then, is the EON GameCube adapter worth your time and $150? Well, I'd say definitely. For those console purists that want to get the best quality from the original hardware, this is a no-brainer. Compared to its competitors, the quality of the device holds strong that makes it for its more expensive $150 price point. Well, if you'll excuse me, I got a match of Soul Calibur 2 to finish.